Hey, you guys, this is our last class session. Are you excited? I know I'm excited. It feels like a heck of a long term. But you know what? We're done. So, we have one more assignment due. We've just finished up the last of our readings. Um, your grades for your research papers have been posted. So literally the only thing left is that discussion board portfolio. So before we get started talking about our readings for today, which I think they're super fun. Maybe not Manhattan so much. That one's kind of, I'm going to look for a replacement for next term. But in terms of the discussion board portfolio, does anyone have any questions or anything?
I did have a question about that.
Sure.
Are we just supposed to fill out the questions and just answer them, or are we supposed to write a separate paragraph about it, answering those questions?
Okay, perfect. So you write a paragraph answering the questions, right? So it's basically just a little bit more, not quite like yes, this is the weakest, the point that, like it's not like in a bullet point type thing. It's in a 4 to 6 sentence paragraph.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay. Any other questions?
Not from me, no.
Okay. Okay, and Mona, if you have any questions about the discussion board portfolio, just let me know. Just as a reminder, I know I said it a minute ago, but we've got that discussion board portfolio due on Friday. That is the absolute last thing that we have for the class, so that's pretty cool. It's pretty straightforward. It's taking things you've already done and just strengthening them. The one thing that might feel a little bit weird to you is that one where you choose a post from one of your peers and you kind of critique it and offer opportunities for strengths, right? That's probably the or to strengthen it. Sorry, that's probably going to feel the weirdest, but writing is truly a collaborative activity. So don't feel like it's strange. You're taking someone else's ideas and you're making it better, and that's okay. All right. So, I feel like there was one other thing that I wanted to say. Yeah, I can't think of what it is. So it must not have been that important. So let's get right into our readings. Let's start off with fish cheeks. Let's just kind of go in order. What do you guys think of fish cheeks?
It was definitely a cute story. I liked it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it totally it was cute on the surface, and then if you dig in a little deeper, right, it definitely talks about things that are important. So it had this cool way of being able to do two things at once, kind of make you laugh, make you cringe, make you feel what this narrator was feeling, and then also really get to the heart of the matter. And what is the heart of that matter in terms of fish cheeks?
I think it was to stay true to who you are, not like try to feel like you need to change for someone to like you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And how'd you see that?
When I don't remember the characters' names, but her mother was saying like she made all her favorite foods so that she could show their guests like their true culture and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We find that out right at the end. She had chosen all of the narrator's favorite foods, right? And, you know, how do you think that made the narrator feel?
She probably was like, "Oh, that's why you did all that." Like, she probably understood it at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would venture to say too that she probably felt kind of crummy about her reaction, right? Because she's acting like, oh, their Christmas dinner with all these weird Chinese foods and things like that. And it turns out that her mom was trying to do her a really good solid here by making all of her favorites, probably trying to impress what's his name, Robert. He's not worth her time. I mean, that's just my opinion. He kind of seems like an idiot to me. But what did you guys think of Robert?
He felt like just a normal guy, just just there, someone to look at.
Yeah, I could agree with that. He doesn't really do too much in the you agree, Monet? Cool, cool. Yeah, he doesn't really do too much, right? You know, she's putting a lot of thoughts into his character, I guess. You know, the idea of, well, what would Robert think of our shabby Chinese Christmas? You know, that sort of thing. But the thing that cracked me up as I was reading it, and I don't know that I've caught this before, is that, you know, she is like so into this Robert guy that for Christmas she prays for him, along with a slim new American nose, of course. It's such strange things, but I guess that's what internalized racism will do, you know. Um, but we see that, you know, she has all these deep feelings for Robert, and Robert comes in. This is in paragraph 4. Robert grunted hello, like, and then he looks at his plate with a reddened face in paragraph 6. Like, is he as into the narrator? She's unnamed, so we're just gonna call her the narrator. As the narrator is into him?
Definitely not. No.
No. This poor girl, you know, she's very much yeah. But he does a good job in acting the role that she kind of expects him to act, right? That kind of looking down upon this, you know, shabby Chinese Christmas. Um, but I wonder, and there's no answer to this, but I wonder if maybe he was less unimpressed than she feels he acted. Right? What do you think about that? Is that something that maybe crossed your mind while you were reading?
Are you saying that maybe she imagined his thoughts different than what he was actually thinking?
Yeah.
Well, I think that is true because we all have like thoughts of what other people are thinking, but we don't really know. So, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, sure, he grunted hello, but he said hi. You know, she sees him as grimacing when that steamed fish comes out, and looks down at his plate when her dad burps. You know, like all of these things. But I mean, really, he could have been stifling a laugh, right? Looking down, your face gets red when you laugh, like it's a thing. You know, he grimaced when he saw the fish. I mean, I hate to say it, fish can be kind of stinky sometimes, whether you like the taste of it or not. I love salmon, but every time it comes out of the oven, I'm like, oh my God, why do I like this? You know, like, so these things that she's interpreting him thinking may not be those things, right? And so, you know, we kind of have an interesting discussion here in the story, right? About this shame that she feels. What kind of shame is that? What's happening there?
Maybe she strives to be so American that she doesn't like her own culture or feels embarrassed that she's part of it, maybe?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think that could be the case, right? You know, we know that she's praying for a slim new American nose for Christmas. She keeps comparing the Chinese Christmas with an American Christmas, saying, you know, our noisy Chinese relatives who lacked proper American manners, shabby, she describes it, um, talking about how it's going to be such a disappointment that it's not roasted turkey and sweet potatoes, right? We find all this out right in paragraph 2. You know, so she definitely is comparing Chinese culture to American culture and feels like it comes up short, right? Even though we know she loves all of these things because these are all her favorite foods. So what's that about? Why does she love these things but seem to hate them in the moment?
I
Um,
think that she loves these things. I guess if you kind of say it behind closed doors when not any of her American friends are around. And some people are, like you said, they're embarrassed of their culture when it is brought around their American friends who've never seen it probably before.
Sure. Great point, Monet. Absolutely. Elena, did you have something you want to add?
Yeah, in the beginning it says she's 14, so she's probably in like middle school or high school. So also the
Mhm.
peer pressure of being around all the American girls, always wanting to be like them. She's probably just like trying to fit in and trying to like get rid of her other culture to fit in with him and stuff.
Yeah, I think it could definitely be a combination of both of those things, right? She's saying, "Oh my goodness, he's going to judge because he doesn't know my culture," but she's also saying, even though I appreciate my culture in a way personally, like because even if you internalize that kind of negative feeling, in some respects, you do still understand where you come from and you do appreciate it, right? Which is why it's so, like why it's so telling that her mom tells her in the second to last paragraph as she hands her a mini skirt in beige tweed, which I mean in 2021 no one would ever buy a mini skirt in beige tweed. But at this time, it was a pretty popular style, right? And a popular American style. And she tells her, "You want to be the same as American girls on the outside, but inside you must always be Chinese. You must be proud you are different. Your only shame is to have shame." Right? So, I mean, what do you think? Is her mom like a genius?
She definitely is and sounds like my mom.
Same here.
Yeah, mine too. I don't know how moms, it's like they give birth and all of a sudden they just like say all the smart things. I don't know what that's about, but I mean, more power to them, right? So I want to really quickly go into paragraph 3 and kind of talk about it a little more. That's the paragraph where her mother is preparing the dinner. What stuck out to you about that paragraph? Did anything, or were you just like, oh, food?
It really stuck out to me after I read that those were all her favorite foods. It was the way she was describing them as they were like so disgusting and appalling and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. The bulging fish eyes, pulling black veins out of the backs of fleshy prawns. That arguably is like the least disgusting out of all of them because I mean that's kind of what happens. It's kind of gross on its own. Um, I even hate doing that with shrimp. I'm like ugh. But I mean shrimp's delicious, so you got to suck it up and do it. But you've got that, and then the fish eyes that pleaded not to be thrown into a pan. I don't know. I don't want my food talking to me like with its eyes. That's weird. You know, and then the tofu looking like stacked wedges of rubbery white sponges. There's a reason sponges aren't white, right? I mean, that was literally, I wrote that down. I don't know why that came to my mind, but I was like, I've never seen a white sponge, and I feel like there's a reason. So we've got the rubbery white sponges, the bowl of soaking dried fungus, that's coming back to life, probably mushrooms, being I don't eat mushrooms, so I don't know I think you put them in water and they like puff or something. Is that what happens?
I think for raw mushrooms, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my mom's allergic, so growing up, we never had any in the house. I've never cooked with them, nothing. So I was like, I'm gonna defer to you guys. Yes, we've got that, and then even like a plate of squid with knife markings that resembled bicycle tires. I mean, who in their right mind would put any of these things into their mouth, right? Just based on those descriptions, right? She just, oh, and she loves these things. So Elena, you mentioned earlier that you saw it in a different light once you saw that it was all her favorite foods. But if they're her favorite foods, and this is for either of you, if they're her favorite foods, why is she describing it like they are the absolute grossest things on the planet?
Maybe she's trying to describe it how one of her American friends would describe it and to fit in with them.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. Absolutely. So she really is doing a lot here, right? She is she's trying to live her life and get by, right? Like you said, she's trying to fit in. She's going through all of those same things that all of her American friends that she wants to be like are going through. But then she has this judgment of her own culture, of her own body, of her own everything that really just causes conflict within her in terms of everything, right? Because it causes conflict with her family, it causes conflict with Robert. So you can imagine that it probably also causes conflict with other American friends. And, it's just really sad, I guess, at least to me, that she's got this internalized conflict here that's really just all encompassing, because it really does affect so many different areas of her life. So anything that you guys want to add about that? Did anything about that stick out to you at all?
The scene or like the paragraph where she was describing her relatives eating the meal and going into detail with all of that, it really showed how like embarrassed she was of her own culture and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? What was it? Relatives licking the ends of their chopsticks and reaching across the table, dipping them into the dozens or so plates of food. Right? So you're picturing like these spitty chopsticks going back into the food, and the thing is that in the family, like that's normal, that's life, right? That's just how you eat. And then we've got Robert and his family waiting for things to be passed. Now, here's a question for you guys. Should Robert and his family have waited for people to patiently waited for people? Reading is hard today. Patiently waited for platters to be passed to them, or should they have taken cues from the narrator's family, do you think?
I think they should have taken cues so that it wouldn't be as awkward for them. Like if you're going into someone else's home who has a different culture, you should try and not fit in, but like try to kind of take on their culture as much as you can. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I can agree with that for sure. Now, why should they want to take on their culture? Like, what is it about fitting in that I guess that is the benefit, right? Is it for Robert and his family? Is it for oh, the narrator does have a name. I apologize. I skipped over it in my mind. Amy. So this is probably some sort of personal narrative. Maybe the author actually went through this herself, or something similar. But is it about Robert's family, or is it about Amy's family, right? Is it trying to fit in and assume the culture? Who would that benefit, or would that benefit both sides?
Um, I, it, I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm kind of like torn between the fitting in. It sounds like Amy kind of wants her family to fit into the American culture, and you can't see my air quotes, but um, being normal in the world since they are in America. But at the same time, I feel like since it doesn't seem like they've been exposed, Robert's family has really been exposed, so I feel like it's a good opportunity to see how other, not religions, but other cultures do things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. That does make sense. So in a way, it could benefit both groups, right? For this sort of interaction of culture, right? And I mean, you could never expect Amy's family to, change the way that they eat and do things in their own home, right? Because that's just obnoxious and kind of rude to ask. Um, but then we have, Robert and his family entering a new culture, and there's this kind of idea that, America is the melting pot, but is it really, or do people who live in the United States just sort of expect people to conform to like our melting pot, right? Like, can you really be your own culture and your own style and all of these things without having without being looked down upon in some way? And it really does pose like a really interesting question about cultural clash and why it exists and how it perpetuates. So we've now talked for 24 minutes about Fish Cheeks. It's an amazing story. I hope you guys liked it as much as I did. But why don't we move on to the next story? But before we do that, I just want to ask you if there's anything else you want to add about Fish Cheeks that maybe we haven't talked about yet. Okay. Since we're able to answer nice and quick because of the microphones, I think that means no. So let's talk about unicorns. What in the world is happening in this story? I mean, legitimately, what is happening? Why did we read this? Why is there a 2.5-page story about a unicorn named Kevin?
At first, I thought I was reading someone's dream. So
It did kind of feel like that, right? I actually just put a note next to like half of the first paragraph and just wrote absurdity. Like, what? This feels like a really weird acid trip. I mean, I've never been on an acid trip, but I'm just saying, like, from what I've heard, that's what it kind of feels like, Like, I don't even know. So is there really a unicorn?
it might be symbolism for a car. I don't know.
But the car's in the shop.
A horse, maybe?
I mean, our narrator here, who is unnamed, definitely unnamed, not like Amy and Fish Cheeks, definitely unnamed. We don't know if the narrator is a man or a woman. I probably will slip and call the narrator use like feminine pronouns on accident because of heteronormativity. Unfortunately, I do it every term. So first off, if I do that, please forgive me. It's not meant that way. I don't know what it is. But we've got this unicorn, which, I mean, describe the unicorn for me. Not necessarily Kevin, but describe unicorns in general.
Fluffy, long hair, white maids, rainbow, stuff like that.
Okay. And are they real?
No.
If they were, oh,
In my
yes,
heart,
I saw
they're
your.
real.
What's that?
In my heart, they're real. I mean,
There you
if
go.
you like,
Right?
if you stick a horn on a horse, technically, it could be considered as a horn.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've actually got a tattoo of a narwhal, and I call it my underwater unicorn. Like, we need unicorns in this world. Where are they?
They might be rhinoceros. Just morphed.
Maybe. That could, hey, I mean, honestly, who knows? Although the narrator does describe Kevin as let's see, it's when they are struggling to write the article. Um, let's see, as wispy silver. So I'm thinking like this person legitimately thinks that Kevin exists and is like a unicorn in her backyard. Or see, I did it in their backyard, right? Like, first off, Kevin nuzzles his horn in the grass and then eats glass. What kind of animal is this? Right? Like, nothing eats glass. That's like not a thing. So, absurdity, legitimate absurdity. Now, before the narrator loses their job, what's their relationship with Kevin? Is it going well? Are they really enjoying the camaraderie? Like, what is happening?
During the entire story or during one part?
Just that first part, right? The first time that we see Kevin and when the narrator starts describing, kind of their relationship with Kevin.
It looks like they were walking in the woods, maybe.
Okay. Could be. Monet, did you want to say something?
I was gonna say the same thing. It looked like they were in the woods, and then the first interaction, if you read down, it looks like the narrator was saying, that they were happy to oblige to him, and even if they get nothing in return. So it's very, very happy, very excited.
I mean, for Pete's sake, a unicorn just walked into my backyard. I'm gonna be excited too. Right? It's true. We see the description of, we somehow had found each other, me by choosing to remain in the small house after my husband left, and him by my abundance of the only two things in this world that he seemed to live for. Right? And that's rolling in the grass or nuzzling his horn in the grass and eating glass from those hanging mobiles. Right? So this is a good relationship, I mean, honestly, it kind of reminds me of, my relationship with my dogs. They like me. They come over. They get pet. They eat food that I give them, and then they roll around on the ground, right? And it works. But then things changed, right? As soon as this person lost their job at the hanging mobile factory, which I don't know if hanging mobile factories are a thing, but if they are, they sound awful. I mean, I'm just going to put that out there. It just, the description reminds me of like this really strange looking wind chime. I don't know, but I'm not a decorator. You should see my space. It's stark. But we see them lose their job, and then we have a kind of a change in the relationship between the narrator and Kevin. What has happened once that job is lost? How does that relationship between the narrator and Kevin change?
The narrator looks more to Kevin as something to make money off of and not just a friend and a companion.
Yeah. And does that make sense?
In this situation, it does, but if I had a unicorn, I would sell other things before the unicorn.
Yeah. That's a great point, right? Because I mean, this person doesn't have much. They've got Kevin. They have, well, do they really have Kevin? It sounds like Kevin is his own being. Like he comes and goes like he wants. This narrator doesn't really know much about him, and we find that out later. But they have Kevin. They have the French press coffee maker, which I don't know, I guess could be one of those really high-end ones that they make in Italy or whatever. And then the writing stationery, can't really sell that. A zither, you could probably sell that. I mean, it's a musical instrument. It's kind of unique in a sense. And then there's the TV, right? So there's a couple of things there that this person could sell. But yet, after describing all of those things, right, the car, and I forgot to add that because I mean it's at the shop, so they really don't have the car in the moment. I would very much like to sell Kevin to someone for the reasonable price of $1,700 so I can pay off the repairs and get my car back. $1,700 for a unicorn? What do you guys think about that?
That's ridiculous. If you're gonna sell a unicorn, then actually for real, sell a unicorn for real money, an actual good amount of money.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I think me too. Especially for an animal, and then, man, you need a lot more.
Yeah. I mean, people sell dogs for $1,700. And I mean, you don't even really have to buy food for Kevin. He's just going to happily eat your glass.
He's a live recycling bin.
You're right.
Exactly.
I never thought of it like that. I love it. But what do you think about the next sentence, right? I was thinking of asking for $2,700, but I thought that that might invite bad karma.
Is the number 2700 unlucky?
I don't know. I don't know. What do you think, Elena? I saw your mic go on.
Oh, I said, I asked if the number was unlucky. That's what I was saying.
Oh, sorry, sorry. I had seen Monet's on at the same time, and you guys didn't flop on my screen like you usually do. So Monet, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, I feel like Karma's gonna come back on him because he didn't sell the unicorn for more money. I feel like that's how Karma's gonna get him, but hey, that's my opinion.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I mean, so we've got a lot of strange things happening here, right? This conflict. The thing that stuck out to me most, I think, was the conflict in trying to assign a value of money to a living thing that like this person doesn't really own, right? I mean, can you own a living thing? That's another question. But we have them trying to think about, okay, how do I value one, a unicorn? This thing is mythical, right? Like they even describe it as mythical in a few paragraphs later. So they know that it's like rare, right? It's implied. And then they also know that they don't want to invite bad karma by asking too much. But like, what about the bad karma just from selling the unicorn? Did you guys find that weird? You're like, why are you selling your unicorn? Or not your unicorn? Because the thing just strolls in from the forest.
Maybe bad karma comes from selling a mythical creature, like something that's just a fairy tale that you can't put a price on it, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Hey, Josie. Just wanted to say hi. We're talking about unicorns right now. So let's get into it. We've been talking about how the narrator seems to have had a really good relationship with Kevin, and then all of a sudden they lose their job and things just kind of fall apart. This nice reciprocal relationship where the narrator plays their zither in the backyard and enjoys Kevin's company somehow turns into some sort of commodification of Kevin and how they want to sell him to get the money to pay off their car bill. Right? So, and then we've even got the ad in the newspaper. Okay? One unicorn, male, enjoys music, good companion. $1,700, price firm. Call this number. What do you feel about that? Does that seem weird?
Well,
Yes, it
first off,
does.
they were male and female unicorns.
Yeah. There's some weirdness there, right? We don't know. Okay, so this is the only unicorn that's mentioned. I mean, the narrator gets drunk and tries to ask Kevin about his family, but I mean, he doesn't tell them anything because, I mean, unicorn. He just wants to eat his glass. But the types of qualifiers. Yes, unicorn. You need to identify like breed and things like that. Male. Who cares? Enjoys music. Is that a thing? Like, okay, so this unicorn enjoys music. Cool. Monet, would you mind shutting your mic off? You've got some interference going. Thank you. Sorry about that. But continue to answer questions. No, you don't have to be sorry. Continue to answer questions, verbally. That's totally fine. It's just in the background. Yeah, so we've got, this really short ad that kind of makes me wonder, like, okay, this was published in 2009. When is this really set? Because back in the day, you used to pay for an ad like this by the word. But these days, you go on Craigslist and people write you a book about an old pair of shoes that they're posting to give away for free. What is the fact that this description is so short? What kind of is ironic about such a short description for the sale of Kevin?
Maybe the narrator doesn't want to sell the unicorn, so gives as little detail as possible.
Definitely a possibility, right? So I mean, we don't necessarily see that in the in their language that they share, but that doesn't mean that they don't in some way subconsciously feel like they want to keep Kevin around. Um, but also, you know who saw this and was like, oh, I need to call them. It was the editor from Good Living magazine that asked this person to write an article about Kevin. If you saw an ad that said one unicorn male enjoys music, good companion, $1,700 price firm, would you be like, let me get them to write a 5,000 word article for my magazine?
No.
Why not?
Well, after this literature class, I think I've seen a few things that would make me think that no, I wouldn't trust them to write it.
Yeah. Yeah, so we've got someone who selling a mythological creature. Like there's a lot of cool stuff you can write about a unicorn, especially if you're looking right at it. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt and count the numbers too. 12 words. I don't know. That was like a mind blown thing for me. I was like, good on you, editor, for not finding a good candidate for this. Like, send a writer out. But I mean, that's just me. And then, this person, the narrator, was flattered, of course. And thinking quickly, I requested a flat fee of $1,700 for the article. What's the first question that popped into you guys' mind when you saw that? Was there one?
Not really, no, but he's asking for the same amount as he asked for the unicorn, so that's about it.
Okay. Okay, fair. Fair. Anybody else have a question about that? No? Well, the first thing that popped into my mind is, are you going to take down the ad? Right? Like, okay, so you've got a $1,700 ad in the paper for Kevin. And I mean, no one's called on it that we know of to buy Kevin. But then we get someone calling from Good Living magazine who wants to, commission them to write an article. They ask for the same amount of money. Well, like, they still gonna sell Kevin? If they don't sell Kevin, then that makes sense because they get to I was gonna say get their car, but that doesn't work. They can pay off the bill on their car. But if they don't take down the ad, then are they still making profit off Kevin? Right? Like they don't even seem to think it's like an ethical question. One, is it okay to profit off of a mythological creature that just walks into your backyard? I mean, that would be like if I went out into my backyard right now and I caught a chipmunk and then I tried to sell it to people. I don't know about you guys, but to me, that just feels wrong. And I mean? Maybe I'm a weirdo. I don't know. I'm definitely not, an entrepreneur, but trying to put a price on a living being that is not in your that's not your responsibility because I mean Kevin still lives in the forest, right? I don't know. It's just weird to me. It's just weird. These are the kinds of things that I think of when I'm starting to read this. And then this narrator's like, I was overjoyed at the shot for a new career in magazine journalism. Is this career going to happen?
I would think no, but it depends on how well he does on this first one.
That's fair. That's fair. And how is this first one going?
So far, it's not going so great.
No, right? I mean, what do we see? We see, first off, they can't think of an idea. I mean, that's not super uncommon. But they didn't know how to begin. I couldn't just say my unicorn Kevin loves eating bits of glass and listening to music played on the zither. That wasn't what the articles in Good Living magazine sounded like. And then this was the thing that almost knocked me off my chair. Why didn't Kevin do anything else? Why wasn't he fascinating? What do you think, guys? Why isn't Kevin fascinating?
Maybe because he doesn't exist.
That could be, right? Whether this unicorn exists or not, that's an interesting question to ask, right? Obviously, mythological. Does that mean that he doesn't exist in the realm of this this short story? No. But also, this person's going through grief, right? You know, their husband just left. Like, that kind of thing does weird stuff to the brain, you know? And I mean, maybe this person is hallucinating about Kevin, but we really don't know, right? And we don't know. Well, actually, the question that I kind of that kind of makes me think that maybe that's correct is that, I mean, how many hanging mobiles does this person have that Kevin can just come and eat glass all day, right? I mean, that's a lot. So maybe you've got something there. Now, 85 words after writing a few sentences describing Kevin's wispy silver mane, and then more descriptions, 85. How could anyone ever actually write 5,000? This is about a unicorn, you guys. How could you not write $5,000 or 5,000 words, not $5,000, about a unicorn? 1, 2, a unicorn named Kevin. 3, a unicorn named Kevin that likes to put his like horn in the grass. Like, these are all really strange things. How could you not write 5,000 words? I don't know. That's my question. But then, you know, we see some stuff. Sorry, I get really excited about this this story. The next question: why didn't the editors want an article on hanging mobiles? I can't even with this person. Right? Those I could write for days about. Arguably the most boring topic on the planet. Again, just if you like hanging mobiles, no judgment. For me, So what does this person do once they get annoyed that they can't write about Kevin? What'd they decide?
They went to alcohol to solve their problems.
True. Absolutely. But even before that, they decided they were going to start writing about hanging mobiles, right? And they needed to draw a diagram to reference. And so this person just goes and does that instead of working on this commission that's going to, you know, net in $1,700. What? Like, I get needing a brain break, but I mean, they haven't really started yet. Right? And then there's the alcohol, right? And of course, when they're down in the cellar looking for wine that the ex-husband left, gosh, there's cobwebs down here. I gotta clean those. What's this person doing now? Is it really about the cobwebs? Do they care about them? Like, what's happening? For real.
They're just trying to distract themselves and avoid doing it.
Yes, that is exactly correct. So, you know, they're scrubbing out the rafters with a dust cloth, twisting their wrist in the corners. Do you need to do that to take down cobwebs? No, you don't need to do that to take down cobwebs, especially not in a cellar. Like, they're not made to be super clean. It's not like a finished basement that's nice and tidy and you keep it as part of your house. Like, a cellar is made to be like an underground area for food storage, or in this case, wine. Now, quick question. In the cellar, I found a few bottles of wine my ex-husband had left. Why make the connection between the wine and the ex-husband?
Because maybe she misses her ex-husband, possibly. And she's kind of reminiscing on, man, I have this wine, this lovely wine, and my husband. And then on the slick, being like, man, I miss my husband. I don't know.
I mean, that's a possibility. You know, if you think about it from your own perspective, if you've ever dated anyone or been married and something happens, like it hurts when it ends, But I have another idea. Now, there is no right or wrong here, but it kind of seems to me that associating the wine with the ex-husband and then getting drunk on the wine is kind of like blaming the ex-husband for getting them drunk, right? And then, of course, when they're drunk, they can't really write, right? So then now it's the ex-husband's fault that they're drunk and that they can't do their new magazine journalism career. And that kind of does that seem to you guys to fit in line with this person's kind of thought process? Or do you think that it is, as Monet said, like something that, that they just miss their ex?
I agree with both of them, but also I wanted to say that maybe they made the connection because the unicorn did show up after after it became their ex-husband, right? So
Mm-hmm.
maybe they mention it because the unicorn popped up after all that, so I'm not sure.
That's definitely a possibility. I thought I saw someone else's little mic guy come on. Monet, was that you again, or was that you, Josie? Or maybe I'm wrong.
It wasn't me.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Not trying to put you on the spot.
Yeah,
No,
you're all good. It's fine.
Okay, good. I think any of those perspectives could be fair. Even the fact that Kevin showed up, like you said, after the ex left and became kind of that confidant, so that in a way Kevin could have been personified almost and been like a partner, not in ways that would be weird, but just in like the sense of camaraderie. So I think that that's definitely a possibility for sure. Any of those things. Um, Now, in this person's drunken awesomeness, they have this plan that maybe they'll write about Kevin's family, because who doesn't love an article about family? Is that what they were asked to write? I mean, really? What do you think?
No, they weren't. They were strictly supposed to write about the unicorn. Nobody cares about anything else. It was only supposed to be about the unicorn.
Yes, it was just about Kevin. And this person, I mean, sure, if they put the spin on it that, Kevin's family. But as they talk about it, it seems to get a little further and further away from Kevin, and then just kind of goes into curiosity, right? They go outside. Where's your family, Kevin? And trying to lead Kevin back into the forest. Of course, Kevin's not going to answer, right? Like, come on. And then because they're drunk, they almost fall over. Kevin gets his horn stuck in a tree. Like, this is something else, right? This situation is just, I don't even know. But this is my favorite part of the entire story. I love this part. His black eyes looked so helpless. Okay, because he doesn't understand what you're saying, and you probably just ran out of glass, right? Like that. I mean, that's just me. I asked him again, this time speaking slower. Where is your family? What's going on with this person now? Like, are they just drunk? Like what is going through their mind here? What do you think?
The way I thought of it is that they're trying to talk to the unicorn like it's themselves as another person, so asking themselves, where is my family? Like, since she just lost her ex and stuff.
I like that, like using Kevin as a representation of themselves.
Yeah, yeah.
I dig that a lot. I really, really like that. That's a good call. That's a very good call. Now, I want to ask one question to you guys. And this will be the last question, and then we'll spend the last like 5 minutes on Manhattan. Now, you guys have all interpreted this story differently from me, but after finishing reading this story, why was the narrator fired? Right? We don't ever find out, but why do you think the narrator was fired?
From what we've seen, maybe they just didn't have a good work ethic, or they just daydreamed a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Monet, did you want to say something? I saw your mic come on.
I was gonna say the same thing, like daydreaming a lot, probably not focused, and just their mind was in a whole different other headspace than the rest of everybody at work, but not in a good way.
Yeah. Yeah. And this person can't believe that they were fired, but yet they can't seem to focus for more than like 2 seconds. It's very much like, ooh, shiny object. And then they, depending on how you interpret the wine situation, right? They may be blaming things like their own shortcomings on others. Um, just this sort of lack of ability to just do the work, and to stick with it. Now, that's no judgment on this person, of course, because I mean, we all have times in our life that are like this. But yeah, personally, not surprised they were fired, but had a delightful time reading about the post firing. So we've now got 4 minutes for Manhattan. Let's talk about this really superficially. What's happening here? What do we see about this man, right? And he is Jan Rodriguez or Juan Rodriguez or Yao Rodriguez. He has so many names. What do we know about him as a character?
I think it somewhere said that he was a slave on a ship.
Okay. Were you going to add something to that?
No.
Okay. I don't know that he necessarily was a slave. It would make sense if he were, but they kind of give him a lot of authority in a way because he's the one who communicates and does all the trading, right? So if he was, enslaved, they do put a lot of trust in him. Now, does that exonerate enslavement? No, it does not. First off, I will just put that out there. So it's hard to say, but that is definitely a possibility. Now, why is he such a vital member of this crew on the ship? Why is he so capable of doing these things that he does? Like, what is it about him, you think, those characteristics?
He had a good sense of direction and time based on what was around him.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Anything else? No? Well, he also knew how to communicate with the Native Americans as well, right? At the beginning of the second page, or I guess the second page of text, because I feel like there was like a wonky page at the start of this. he had turned his ear around and around like a tuning fork until he captured it, right? And that's the sound of the Native Americans' language. And with the key of this language that most of the Dutch on the ship assured him they could not fully hear, he had himself unlocked a door, right? So he's got these opportunities because not only is he, able to do things on the ship, but he is also able to reach out to these Native American groups and communicate with them and learn from them. And he knows how to keep his head down. That is a vital skill no matter what job you're in, so he's got a lot of I don't know, I guess he's just very self-reliant. He is a capable individual who is able to find his way around, know what's going on around him. He's very aware. He also is willing to learn and adapt to new things, right? Which makes sense in a way, because why? Why is it important that he knows how to adapt, and how does that fit into what he decides he wants to do? No? All right, I'll take this one on. It's 8 o'clock anyway, so I want to get it out really fast so that I can tell you guys to have a great night. So my thought on that is he's decided to leave the ship, right, to begin his own adventure, to be in control of his own life, not having to report to anyone. So having all of those capabilities is absolutely an asset. Okay. The other thing that I want to point out is the fact that he's known as Yan and Juan and Yao, and also by another name that he doesn't share with us. That kind of tells us that he is, again, very adaptable. He is not someone who is, kind of pigeonholed into one thing. Literally, in just his name, he is constantly fitting in and changing his perspective and how people are interacting with him, right? So we have a lot of really cool information about this guy. And it's super neat that he actually is based on a true character, or not, his character is based on a true person, right? So, we do have that. So, all right, it is 8:01. I have overstayed my welcome. Thank you guys so much for such a great class. I truly enjoyed working with you and, getting to see you every week. It's been a lot of fun talking about this literature stuff. Now, I do want to just one last reminder, discussion board portfolio due on Friday. And then the school would be remiss, or I would be remiss, and the school would be mad at me if I didn't tell you to please register for summer classes if you were planning to take them and have not yet done so already. I believe registration is open, and you can register whenever you would like. One other thing, otherwise I'll get bugged and you'll get bugged. Please do the course evaluations. I learn a lot from you guys about the things that you want and need in a course. So if you could please evaluate the course in terms of my teaching style and things like that. I know it's kind of weird because we've been online, but I would really appreciate it. I always want to grow, so criticism is always welcome. So just tell me what I can do better, or tell me what I'm doing well so that I can, continue to hone my teaching skills. All right, so now I'm 2 minutes over. I'm so sorry, but I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. And if you ever need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. Okay? So it's been great working with you. Have a good one.